Welcome to Women of a Particular Age podcast, where we discuss women's views, life lessons, and a little bit of sugar honey iced tea.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Oh my God, thank you so much for joining us. So, folks, anybody that comes here, this is usually when I do the 5 W's of who, what, when, where, and why. But since we are in a new year, a new season, we have
Yes.
decided to go ahead and change it up. I know you
Yep.
guys see that Heather is here. We'll get into that in a minute. But right now, we are in Genesis chapter 15. So, if you're joining us, please pull out your phone, your tablet, or your iPad and join us. It would be wonderful for you to do that. So now before
Yes.
I read Genesis 15, I think what I would love to go ahead and do is do a real quick recap of Genesis 14. It's going to be really quick. So folks, in Genesis chapter 14, Lot was living in the land of Canaan, and not Lot, sorry. Abram was living in the land of Canaan, and then Lot had decided to live close to where Sodom was. And at that point,
Mhm.
Lot was captured, and there was a war that was going on, and Lot was captured within that time of the war. And Abram decides, wait a minute, no, this is not going to go down like this. So he
Mhm.
decides that he's going to go save Lot. He saves Lot. The king of Sodom wants to reward him, but Abram says, no, you don't need to reward me. Just give me, if you do, give me 10%. And of course, you in the Bible, God wants you to always give your 10%. And then what happens is not only does he try, the king of Sodom try to bless him, but then when he comes back into the midst of God, God blesses him for going to save
Mhm.
Lot. So
Mhm.
that is where we are at right now. So
Mhm.
now, before we get started, Heather, thank you for
Yeah.
joining me. How are you doing? You look so good. How's it
Oh,
going?
well, thank you, Fran. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm actually so happy that you're joining me. And folks, just so
Yeah,
you guys know,
I'm happy
me and
to.
Heather go to church together. So I just love it that we go to church together. I love it that she's decided to join me. Now, please keep this in mind. We are not leaders of a Bible study. What we're doing is we are in real time learning the Bible, and we are sharing with you what we are learning. And we would love down in the comments that if you join us, if there's things that you know more than us, please share. We would love it. That's all we're
Yes.
doing. We're not instructors. We're just sharing with you the
Right.
Bible as we read it in real time. Right, Heather?
You
That's
got
all
that,
we're
girl.
doing.
Yes.
Okay? That's all we're doing. Okay.
Yes.
So before we get started, if you haven't read chapter 15, that means I better go ahead and read it. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay.
Okay.
And I need you guys to give me grace ahead of time if I don't get some of these words right. Okay. I'm just saying, give me grace. Give me grace. All right. So here we go. Now, Genesis chapter 15 is the Lord's covenant with Abram. After
Mhm.
this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Ezekiel, girl, I don't know what that word is, of Damascus. And
Mhm.
Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him. This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and he said, Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. Abram believed the
Mhm.
Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of the of the Chaldeans to
Mhm.
give you the land to take possession of it. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought to
Mhm.
all of these to him, cut them into and arranged them in halves opposite of each other. And the bird, however, he did not cut in half. Then the birds of prey, which is like hawks and stuff,
Mhm.
came
Right.
down, buzzards came down onto the carcass, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into the deep sleep, and a thick, dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years of your descendants will be strangers to in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good age. In the 400th generation of your descendants will come back here, for the sins of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoke fire pit with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On the day of the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, to your descendants, I give this land from the Wadi of Egypt to the great rivers, the Euphrates, and the land of Canaanites, Kizizanites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, girl, something lights,
Yeah.
Amorites,
Toughy.
Canaanites, Gingerites, Jezebelites, something like that. A whole bunch of lights.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next time Heather's gonna read it, and then guess what? You're gonna get all those lights if it come back again. All right. So now let's get started. So
Yes.
now, Heather, let me tell you something. Let's talk about the beginning of this covenant. Now let's get in here. Let's talk about this. Now, in the
Hmm.
beginning of this covenant, it's interesting. And I'll tell you why it's interesting for me.
Yes.
Because Abram is having this conversation with God. He's having a
Yes.
conversation with God. And the funny part is he's trusting God. He's not questioning that God will do it. He's questioning how he will do it. Not that he will
Yes.
do it, but how he will do it. Now, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? I
Well,
mean, wow.
I know. I know. Well, definitely he has a lot of faith.
Yes. Yes.
Abram has a lot of faith. And like you said, you know what? He's human. And so he's having, human
He's having a
emotions,
human
right?
moment where he's
Yeah.
questioning God in a
Right,
way.
exactly. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's not even so much questioning God, like, it's just like, wow, how is this going to, like you said,
How is this going to go down?
how is this going to
I know
take
you can
place?
do it, but how is it going to take place though?
Exactly. Like,
Right.
how's this, and especially about, his
Mm-hmm.
age and having children
Mm.
and his wife, they're older.
And
I
wait a
mean,
minute. Let me interrupt you. So let's talk about Sarah. Let's talk about that really quick.
yes,
Okay, so listen. This is something interesting that me and you talked about offline that I'm going to bring back up.
yes.
Isn't it funny that Abram had all this faith in God? He really had all this faith in God, but he let Sarah turn him around by Sarah telling him to sleep with the handmaid to have a child when he could have just waited because God was going to bless him with a child
Right.
anyway.
Mm. Yes, we did talk about this, but then remember how we went back to what? Adam and Eve?
Right, because guess what?
Hmm.
How many times in the Bible, let's be honest, there
Yes.
has been a woman that has been deceptive to the man. I mean, even we talk about Adam and Eve, we're talking about in
Yes.
this instant with Sarah and Abram, but
Yes.
also too, let's talk about Samson and Delilah.
Yeah. Right. That's right.
Mm,
That's right.
right? Right. And
Mm-hmm.
we haven't even gotten to that yet. We haven't even
Right.
gotten to that yet. Okay.
Right.
We haven't gotten to that yet. So now, okay, so we're gonna move on for that.
Okay.
All right. So now, besides that, so then he goes to God and he says to God, okay, how is this gonna go down? Okay, so the
Mm.
next thing God says is, okay, well, all right, so this is what I need you to do. I need you, I need you to get me a sacrifice. Now, this is the thing. I remember us talking about the sacrifice, but I'm kind of fuzzy with it. Now, isn't it the way that he did these halves? Is there a specific order in that? I don't recall. If you don't recall, that's okay. I remember reading
Mhm.
something that there's a specification in why he was being specific about the halves. I don't recall. I'm sorry. I don't really recall. I don't know if you recall. I don't know if you do.
Uh, I know. I'm trying to
And if you don't, it's okay. I
yeah,
just remembered that we did talk about the specifications of it being halves, and also to about him not cutting the bird. But that's okay. That's okay because we can move on
Mm-hmm.
from that.
Right.
But I thought that that was interesting.
Yes.
But I do love that when we get towards the end of this, that God go ahead and reaffirms that your ancestors are going to inherit all of this. Now, Heather, do you remember the how big in what in yardage all of this land they were going to inherit? Do you remember
Y-
that?
Yeah, we did talk about that. So I believe I want to say if we're talking from the olden days, right? So
Yes,
we're
from the
we're
olden days.
talking
Yeah.
about roughly 450 to 700 miles.
Wow.
Yes.
So, folks,
Mm-hmm.
this is all that God was going to give to or did give to Abram. All of this
Yes.
land, all of that.
Right.
Okay, all of
Right.
that. Wow,
Yeah.
interesting, right?
Right. That's
Right,
that's that's a
right,
lot. Mm-hmm. A
right. I
lot
think
of
it's a
land.
lot. Well, listen, let's talk about some takeaways. Okay,
Yes.
I think that for me, some of the takeaways were for me is that I loved it that regardless of what God asked Abram to do, he had so much faith that he just did it.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yes.
never questioned it. I wish
Right.
that sometimes in my life that I was as strong as him. I'm hoping to get to that point. I wish I was as strong as him where I didn't question.
Right.
What were some of your takeaways, Heather? What did you feel?
So well, definitely the faith part was a really a big hit for me as far as
Right,
Abram, and his love and faith that he had in God
right,
and what God
right,
wanted him to do. So, I
right,
mean, and the thing is that when God revealed all this to him, um even me as a person, what God had revealed to him what was going to be, it
right,
is overwhelming, right? I mean as a
right, right, right,
person, if
right,
he got, yeah, it's very overwhelming, but at the
right,
same time it's like God works in his own time,
right,
and you know how we had talked about Abram's wife having him bed with the other lady,
right, right, right,
because
right,
there were
right.
trying to move along things faster, thinking
Yeah,
this
when
is
they
the
could have just
way,
trust God.
but the
But you know
God
what? Guess
God
what,
had already
Heather?
spoken. God had
But
already
Heather, but
spoken
guess what? How
in
many
time.
times in our life do we do that?
Listen,
Where God is telling us where to be, okay?
yes.
God is telling us where to be. Okay, we're gonna have a podcast because I'm telling you, we're talking about this, but we're gonna me and you,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be offline, folks. But when we
Yes.
do, me and Heather are gonna have a podcast. It's gonna be about something very specific, and we're gonna bring this chapter right back around. Okay.
Yes.
Heather doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know what the topic is gonna be, but I do. So
Right.
I can't wait. I can't wait. That it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
So listen, friend, listen, I'm so glad you joined me. I think this is wonderful. I hope that you join me again soon. Folks,
Oh,
just
I
know
look forward to
Heather
it.
is electing when she'll jump in and jump out. She's not obligated, but I really like it better when we do it together. I just feel
Yeah,
like the love is there and the flow is there.
me
And now that we're
too.
reading
Me
it
too.
together, I think that it's great. I think that it's
I
great.
love it. I love it,
Right.
friend. Listen, friend,
Excuse
doing
me.
anything with you is always a blessing for me. You know, so
Well, I
whenever
appreciate
you
it.
want
I
me
do.
on, whenever
Okay.
you
All
want me on,
right.
I'm here, friend.
All right, so then that's what we're gonna do. So, folks, listen, before you leave, please like, share, subscribe. Jolly Studios at gmail.com, www.jollystudios.com, and at Heather Mola. We're also on Instagram if you also want to see some of our AI art, our videos,
Hmm.
because we do
Yes.
do AI.
Mm,
We're
we
in
sure do.
companies where we have to learn. We have no
Yes,
choice. We would love for you to go to our Instagrams and check out some of the stuff that we do. We love having fun with it.
for
We don't do
sure.
anything crazy, but
Right.
we do show our creativity.
Yes.
Okay. So listen, thank you so much for joining us. We love you, and I hope to see you guys next week. Okay. Take
Thanks for
care.
joining.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye
See you
bye.
later.